Hi there. So it's Friday, June 28th, and it's time for Through the Bible in 1 Year. We're on day 180. They have us reading the same story twice today. The same story in two different books, Kings and Chronicles, which kind of mirror each other, but a different person telling it, so the accounts are slightly different, like the Gospels would be. But let's read and see what's going on with Jehoshaphat and Ahab. There was a lull of 3 years without war between Aram and Israel. However, in the third year, King Jehoshaphat of Judah went to visit the king of Israel. The king of Israel had said to his servants, "Don't you know that Ramoth Gilead is ours, but we're doing nothing to take it from the king of Aram?" So he asked Jehoshaphat, "Will you go with me to fight Ramoth Gilead?" Jehoshaphat replied to the king of Israel, "I am as sure as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses." But Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "First, please ask what the Lord's will is." Good idea. So the king of Israel gathered the prophets, about 400 men, and asked them, "Should I go against Ramoth Gilead for war, or should I refrain?" They replied, "March up, and the Lord will hand it over to the king." But Jehoshaphat asked, "Is there a prophet of the Lord here any more? Let's ask him." The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "There's still one man who can inquire of the Lord, but I hate him because he never prophesies good about me, only disaster. He is Micaiah, son of Imlah." "The king shouldn't say that," Jehoshaphat replied. So the king of Israel called an officer and said, "Hurry, get Micaiah, son of Imlah." Now the king of Israel and King Jehoshaphat of Judah, clothed in royal attire, were each sitting on his royal throne. They were on the threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets who were prophesying in front of them. Then Zedekiah, son of that person, made iron horns and said, "This is what the Lord says, you will gore the Arameans with these until they are finished off." And all the prophets were prophesying the same. "March out to Ramoth Gilead and succeed, for the Lord would hand it over to the king." Micaiah's message of defeat. The messenger who went to call Micaiah instructed him, "Look, the words of the prophets are unanimously favorable for the king, so let your words be like theirs and speak favorably." But Micaiah said, "As the Lord lives, I will say whatever the Lord says to me." Right? So he went to the king, and the king asked him, "Micaiah, should we go around with Gilead for war, or should we refrain?" Micaiah told him, "March up and succeed. The Lord will hand it over to the king." But the king said to him, "How many times must I make you swear not to tell me anything but the truth in the name of the Lord?" So Micaiah said, "I saw Israel scattered on the hills like sheep without a shepherd. And the Lord said, they have no master. Let everyone return home in peace." So the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "Didn't I tell you he never prophesies good about me, but only disaster?" And Micaiah said, "Therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and the whole heavenly army was standing by him in his right hand and in his left hand. And the Lord said, who will entice Ahab to march up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" So one was saying this, and the other was saying that. Then the Spirit came forward, stood in the Lord's presence, and said, "I will entice him." The Lord said, "How?" He said, I will go and become a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets." Then he said, "You will certainly entice him and prevail. Go and do that." You see, the Lord has put a lying spirit into the mouth of all these prophets of yours, and the Lord has pronounced disaster against you. Then Zedekiah, who knows, came up, hit Micaiah on the cheek, and demanded, "Did the Spirit of the Lord leave me to speak to you?" Micaiah replied, "You will soon see when you go to hide in an inner chamber on that day." Then the king of Israel ordered, "Take Micaiah and return him to Ammon, the governor of the city, to Joash, the king's son, and say, this is what the king says, put this guy in prison and feed him only a little bread and water until I come back safely." But Micaiah said, "If you ever return safely, the Lord has not spoken through me." And he said, "Listen, all you people." Ahab's death. Guess we know, huh? Then the king of Israel and Judah's king Jehoshaphat went up to Ramoth Gilead, but the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "I will disguise myself and go into battle, but you wear your royal attire." So the king of Israel disguised himself and went into battle. Now the king of Aram had ordered his 32 chariot commanders to not fight with anyone at all except the king of Israel. When the chariot commanders saw that Jehoshaphat, they shouted, "He must be the king of Israel." So they turned to fight against him, but Jehoshaphat cried out. When the chariot commanders saw that he was not the king of Israel, they turned back from pursuing him. Then a man drew his bow without taking special aim, and struck the king of Israel through the joints of his armor. So he said to a charioteer, "Turn around and take me out of the battle, for I am badly wounded." The battle raged throughout the day, and the king was propped up in his chariot facing the Arameans. He died that evening from blood from his wound flowed into the bottom of the chariot. Then the cry rang out in the army as the sun set, declaring, "Each man to his own city, each man to his own land." Gee, isn't that what the Lord said? So the king died and was brought to Samaria. They buried the king in Samaria. Then someone washed the chariot at the pool of Samaria. The dogs licked up his blood, and the prostitutes bathed in it, according to the word the Lord had spoken. Wow. The rest of the events of Ahab's reign, along with all those accomplishments, including the ivory palace he built and all the cities he built, are written in the historical record of Israel's kings. Ahab rested with his ancestors, and his son became king in his place. Ahaziah. Judah's king Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, son of Asa, became king over Judah in the 4th year of Israel's king Ahab. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he became king. He reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zubah, daughter of Shilhai, whatever. He walked on all the ways of his father Asa. He did not turn away from them, but did what was right in the Lord's sight. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burned incense on the high places. Jehoshaphat also made peace with the king of Israel. The rest of the events of Jehoshaphat, along with the might he exercised and how he waged war, are written in the historical record of Judah's king. He eradicated from the land the rest of the male cult prostitutes who were left from the days of his father Asa. Male cult prostitute, brother. There was no king in Edom. A deputy served as king, so Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they did not go because the ships were wrecked at Ezion-Geber. At that time, Ahaziah, son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go with your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat was not willing. Jehoshaphat rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of his ancestor David. His son Jehoram became king in his place. Israel's king Ahaziah, Ahaziah, son of Ahab, became king over Israel and Samaria in the 17th year of Judah's king Jehoshaphat, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He walked in the ways of his father, in the ways of his mother, and in the ways of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin. He served Baal and bowed in worship to him. He angered the Lord of God Israel, just as his father had done. Right. Now let's read the same thing in 2 Chronicles. It'll be a little different. I find this kind of boring, but you want to read the whole Bible, right? The whole Bible. So now Jehoshaphat had riches and honor and abundance, and he made an alliance with Ahab through marriage. Then after some years he went down to visit Ahab in Samaria. Ahab slaughtered many sheep, goats, and cattle for him, for the people who were with him, and he persuaded him to attack Ramoth-Gilead. For Israel's king Ahab asked Judah's king Jehoshaphat, "Will you go with me to Ramoth-Gilead?" He replied to him, "I am as you are, my people as your people. We will be with you in battle." But Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "First, please ask the Lord's will, what the Lord's will is." So the king of Israel gathered the prophets, 400 men, and asked them, "Should we go to Ramoth-Gilead for war, or should I refrain?" They replied, "March up, and God will hand it over to the king." But Jehoshaphat asked, "Isn't there a prophet of the Lord here anymore? Let's ask him." The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "There is still one man who can inquire of the Lord, but I hate him because he never prophesies good about me, only disaster. He is Micaiah, son of Imlah." "The king shouldn't say that," Jehoshaphat replied. So the king of Israel called an officer and said, "Hurry and get Micaiah, son of Imlah." Now the king of Israel and King Jehoshaphat of Judah, clothed in royal attire, were each sitting on a throne. They were sitting on the threshing floor of the entrance of Samaria's gate, and all the prophets were prophesying in front of them. Then Zedekiah, son of Chenai, made iron horns and said, "This is what the Lord says, you will gore the Arameans with these until they are finished off." And all the prophets who were prophesying the same, saying, "March up to Ramoth-Gilead and succeed, for the Lord will hand it over to the king." Micaiah's message of defeat. The messenger went to call Micaiah and instructed him, "Look, these words of the prophets are unanimously favorable for the king, so let your words be like theirs and speak favorably." But Micaiah said, "As the Lord lives, I will say whatever my God says." So when he went to the king, and the king asked him, "Micaiah, should we go to Ramoth-Gilead for war, or should I refrain?" Micaiah said, "March up and succeed, for they will be handed over to you." But the king said to him, "How many times must I make you swear not to tell me anything but the truth in the name of the Lord?" So Micaiah said, I saw all Israel scattered on the hills like sheep without a shepherd, and the Lord said, they have no master, let each return to their home in peace. So the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, didn't I tell you he never prophesies good about me, but only disaster? Then Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and the whole heavenly army was standing at his right hand and at his left hand. And the Lord said, who will entice King Ahab of Israel to march up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So one was saying this and another was saying that. Then a spirit came forward, stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. The Lord asked him, how? He said, I will go and become a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. Then he said, you will entice him and also prevail. Go and do that. Now you see, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of these prophets of yours, and the Lord has pronounced disaster against you. Then Zedekiah, son of Chenaanah, came up, hit Micaiah on the cheek, and demanded, which way did the spirit from the Lord lead me to speak to you? Micaiah replied, you will soon see when you go to hide in an inner chamber on that day. Then the king of Israel ordered, take Micaiah and return him to Amon the governor of the city, and to Joash the king's son, and say, this is what the king says, put this guy in prison and feed him only a little bread and water until I come back safely. But Micaiah said, if you ever return safely, the Lord has not spoken through me. And then he said, listen, all you people, Ahab's dead. Then the king of Israel, Judah's king Joash, went up to Ramoth Gilead, but the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and go into battle, but you are your royal attire. So the king of Israel disguised himself, and they went into battle. Now the king of Aram had ordered his chariot members to not fight with anyone at all, except the king of Israel. When the chariot commander saw Jehoshaphat, they shouted, he must be the king of Israel. So they turned to attack him, but Jehoshaphat cried out, and the Lord helped him. God drew them away from him. When the chariot commander saw that he was not king of Israel, they turned back from pursuing him. But a man drew his bow without taking special aim and struck the king of Israel through the joints in his armor. So he said to the charioteer, turn around and take me out of battle, for I am badly wounded. The battle raged throughout the day, and the king of Israel propped himself up in his chariot, facing the Arameans until evening. Then he died at sunset. And that's it. They don't tell the rest of it. So, there you go. That's day 180, Friday, June 28th. You see what we're doing tomorrow. No, 2nd Chronicles 19 through 23. So that's 4 chapters. 5 chapters. So, lots of kings and lots of weird stuff going on. You notice whenever they call on the Lord and say they're sorry, the Lord always takes them back. Every single time. And they did some awful, awful stuff. They had male prostitutes in the cult temples. That's disgusting. That is an abomination. But he takes them back. Amazing. Always takes them back. So, there you have it. Have a good weekend. End of June. Right? Hope you got lots of stuff done. But until then, keep reading. Catch up on any you miss. You want to say you got the whole Bible in 1 year. Arrow down there. Give us a like if you think about it. But until next time, we'll see you then.